The U.S. transfer of 100,000 acres of borderland in New Mexico. Right? Got a video about this early today. I saw tanks rolling out. Tanks are there. They got a base there now. 100,000 acres worth of base. Shout out Velez. He said, you know how many heads gonna come dressed with army uniforms? Listen, the price of camouflage fatigues have just skyrocketed. All right, through the roof with this. Secretary of the Interior Doug Burgum traveled to New Mexico today to announce the emergency withdrawal and transfer of administrative jurisdiction over approximately 109,651 acres of federal land along the U.S.-Mexican border. The land will be transferred to the Department of the Army for a period of 3 years, subject to valid existing rights. Is it subject to anything? Is anything subject to anything no more? It seems willy-nilly out there. It seems like nobody cares. Subject to valid existing rights. This action is intended to safeguard sensitive natural and cultural resources in the region while enabling the Department of the Army to support U.S. Border Patrol operations in securing the border and preventing illegal immigration. Securing our border and protecting our nation's resources go hand in hand, said Department of the Interior Secretary Doug Burgum. The American people gave President Trump a mandate to make America safe and strong again. This transfer reflects Interior's commitment to public safety, national security, and responsible stewardship of our public lands. The Department of the Army requested the withdrawal and transfer of these lands on an emergency basis to allow for the increase in regular patrols by federal personnel, construction of infrastructure to prevent unlawful entry, disrupt foreign terrorist threats to the U.S., and to curb illegal cross-border activities, such as unlawful migration, narcotics trafficking, migrant smuggling, and human trafficking. President Donald J. Trump declared a national emergency earlier this year along the southern border and directed members of his administration to take swift action to combat all illegal activities within the region. The crisis along the border isn't limited to national security and law enforcement concerns, but also presents an environmental crisis. In this region, the Bureau of Land Management manages these public lands under its multiple use and sustained yield requirements. These lands serve as habitat for 23 federally endangered species. They're done. They're done. Right? Tanques. We're bringing the tanques in there, okay? Species and are the home of cultural sites that range from small artifact scatters to large multi-room pueblos. Transfer of the management of this land to the Army will facilitate military engagement to prevent unauthorized human activity in ecologically sensitive areas along the southern border, which can be harmed by repeated foot traffic, unregulated vehicle use, and the creation of informal trails or camps. High traffic, illegal crossings can lead to soil erosions, damage to fragile desert vegetation, and critical wildlife habitat. Loss and damage to cultural resources, increased fire risk, and pollution from trash and human waste. Additionally, transfer of the management of these lands to the Army will allow the military to assist the Border Patrol to construct and maintain border security infrastructure without delays or conflicts that can come with competing land uses or claims, helping control migration flows. Interior recognizes that some of the acres transferred to the Department of the Army are essential to the livelihoods of communities in that area. The Bureau of Land Management will work with the Department of the Army to ensure that some uses will continue, to support local grazing and mining. AKA, we sticking you for something, American people. Don't ask us why. Don't worry about it. It's an emergency situation. America. Fuck your cows. That's my thoughts. All right, here's the look at the land. San Diego, boom, down here, bow, bow. All of this. So all this that you see, so the border is the black line, right? But then there's a space in between. Then you get into the real world. You got to make it past the Army, boy. If you can't make it past G.I. Joe, you can't go. Period. It's over. Why? Because you're going to run into this guy right here. And they're going to be playing America. Yeah. Corridor known as the Roosevelt Reservation is a 60-foot wide federal buffer zone that ribbons along the border from New Mexico to California, except where it encounters tribal or privately owned land. It had been run by the Interior Department until Trump directed control be transferred to the Defense Department in a presidential memo released Friday night. For the next 45 days, the Defense Department will test taking control of a section of the Roosevelt Reservation in New Mexico, east of Fort Huachuca, which is an Army installation in Arizona, one of the U.S. officials said. During that period, the Army will put up additional fencing and signs warning people not to trespass. So you're gone. They send you to the upper room. The transfer of the border zone to military control and making it part of the Army installation is an attempt by the Trump administration to get around federal law that prohibits U.S. troops from being used in domestic law enforcement on American soil. Is an attempt by the Trump administration to get around federal law that prohibits U.S. troops from being used in domestic law. I mean, I was going to bring up, hey, ain't they supposed to not, be putting operations up here? But, it's what they do now. We don't do lawmaking anymore. We do executive orders. But if the troops are providing security for land that is part of an Army base, they can perform that function. However, at least one presidential power expert said the move is likely to be challenged in the courts. Courts don't matter no more, y'all. Who gives a shit about courts? Huh? Who cares about courts at this point? Not Americans. Nah. Not even a little bit. 60 feet, piece of cake to dig under that. Yeah. Go ahead, dig under that shit. They hit you with that thermal shit. Know what's right under them. And hit you with that. That's the movie shit right there, papas.
Fort Bliss.
They hit you with the sonar and the satellite tracking shit.
Paso, Texas. We were at Fort Bliss in El Paso, Texas, when the Army delivered more than 50 armored Stryker fighting vehicles.
He's checking the BC.
Designed for the battlefield, they are a centerpiece of President Trump's plan to seal the southern border.
No weapon systems on this one.
No, there's no weapon system on this one.
No weapon systems. Nah, not at all. Not even a little bit. What?
Again, we're just using the capability of the camera right now for scanning and detecting.
Sergeant First Class Carlos Zamora is one of the soldiers from Fort Carson, Colorado, using thermal and infrared cameras on the Stryker, watching for the tiniest movements along the border.
Even like a little mouse.
A mouse, Papa. You think they can see a mouse with that thing? You think they're not gonna know somebody is tunneling under their ass 60 feet? Hey, props and gangster points to the goofball that does it.
Little mouse?
Yeah, it's a little mouse that got you like a mile.
Carson, Colorado, using thermal and infrared cameras on the Stryker, watching for the tiniest movements along the border.
Even like a little mouse.
Up to a little mouse?
Yeah, it's a little mouse that got you like a mile out.
With the Strykers and soldiers, President Trump is creating a border barrier that is more than just a wall. He has now authorized the military to take control of a 60-foot strip of federal land along the border, stretching from California to New Mexico. Now, migrants would be crossing into a military installation. It would allow soldiers to make apprehensions, a job that, until now, has been reserved for the Border Patrol.
These Strykers can carry as many as 9 people. The ones that are here now have been stationary, but they can go on patrol if that's something Border Patrol needs.
When crossings have dropped as much as they have, do you still need that extra observation help?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do, because the terrain is very tricky.
Border Patrol agent Orlando Marrero Rubio showed us how improved access to busy crossing zones helped drastically cut border crossings before the Army arrived. There were about 7,200 crossings during the entire month of March. In 2023, there were some days when more than 10,000 people crossed. On a mountain where foot trails have been worn into the hillside, on this morning, we didn't see a single person trying to cross.
Well, it's an Army base on the border now. Everything sounds good when they say it, dog, but they do it all tirado. That's my complaint. They do it to a point where they hurt their own people. Let's see what it does, though, as well. Let's see what it does. Let's see what they do. All right? Let's see if they get the job done. Let's see if people's businesses die because that land was used for the people's, and everybody say, oh, things change. Well, that's cool. Nobody understands it until the rug is pulled from underneath their family for a decision made by somebody else. Then it becomes personal. Pasa comitatus, otherwise have the military operate. Yeah, that's a problem with it. That's a problem with it. But I mean, as far as an immigration issue and trying to stop the flow of rugs or trying to stop the flow of immigrants and shit, cool, whatever. They find a lot of excuses to use the military in this country. They're finding a lot of excuses to do shit that was the shit that we weren't supposed to do. Nobody, not them, not the people before them, are doing the things that should be done. Really should be done. It's just shock and awe, and everybody's happy with it. You know, that's what it is. Y'all have y'all show of politics. You know, neither side has made the right decisions, the right moves. If that was the case, shit, PDF files will have life imprisonment, and not just the things that catch the eye of the news headlines and shit. You know, Trump's used that loophole. He found every loophole. They put their loopholes. They put the way this country's been governed into an AI and found all the loopholes. But let's see how they affect whom. There's a lot of people changing their mind, right? A lot of people changed their mind when they voted in Biden and he didn't do but bullshit. A lot of people feel the same way about Trump. To me, the joke's on all of y'all.
No.
Laws? What laws? We don't need no stinking laws. Fuck out of here. We need laws about, man. I'm talking about laws. Los Chapitos Cartel interrogate Jose Manuel Hernandez Carrillo, brother of a Los Mayitos Flaco member in Cosala, Sinaloa. Los Chapitos point to Navy personnel corruption, all right? Now, this is, how they question the guy, and this is how the guy, dropped names. I think it's pretty safe to say most people would drop names, whatever names you gave them, tied down in a chair like that, in your shorts and a t-shirt with fear in your eyes. Pretty sure you get them to say whatever you want them to say at that point. Los Chapitos, La Chapizza, Los Chapos, and La Mayitos, Los Mayitos Flacos, Los Mayos continue their war conflict that has lasted for about 7 months now. Los Chapitos captured Jose Manuel Hernandez Carrillo, brother of a municipal trustee in Cosala, Sinaloa, named Marco Antonio Hernandez, who is an alleged Mayito Flaco or La Maíza member. Mr. Jose Manuel in the interrogation video points to Secretariat of Mexican Navy corruption with their personnel. Right? It's all voluntary. This is all voluntary information once you're tied to the chair. My name is Jose Manuel Hernandez Carrillo. I'm an auxiliary assistant at the Culiacan Highway Bureau. I'm here because last March 21st in San Jose de las Bocas, the neighboring town of Cosala, my brother, who is a municipal trustee by the name of Marco Antonio Hernandez, was detained with long arms. When my family called me, I was forced to ask Captain Efren Ortega for a favor. He belongs to the 8th Naval Region and is currently working on the Culiacan Security Committee. His collaboration extends from Culiacan to the southern end of the state. Our friendship took place when I met him at the Culiacan Security Committee. Having said that, I've asked him for favors to send special operations to the area where Los Mayos are losing. In addition to this, I also have knowledge that General Fuente Velez, commander of the military zone, and General Chazariño, who is the Secretary of Public Security of the state. Okay? Now, but he said he got a general that's a friend of his. His family told him to call for help. He belongs to the 8th Naval Region. He says in the past he's met him at the Security Committee, and he's asked him for favors to send special operations to where the Mayos are losing. Okay? Now we see these military, we've always wondered, who's the military siding with? On whose side is the military, right? We see that...
Oye, ¿y el Rocha? ¿Y el Rocha? Bueno, ¿y el Rocha?
That the governor, El Rocha, the governor of what is it, Sinaloa, we always been under the understanding that he's been under the thumb of the Chapitos, right? But we've also considered, well, what's up with all these soldiers? Who are these soldiers working for? According to this guy right here, those soldiers are working for the Mayitos, says the guy tied to the chair. They're both working together in league for the southern faction, which happens to be Los Mayos. They've made specific changes in commanders, such as Director Aquila and Subdirector Moran. All of them are working in favor of Los Mayos faction. Operations are mainly carried out in the city's northern sector and in the northern part of the state. This area belongs to the Chapitos mob. It's pretty convincing when you're in the chair right there, right? What do you think happened to this guy? They didn't give us no report on finding him or him, him miraculously walking into a gas station somewhere. We hear nothing. Last we know of Buddy is he's sitting in that chair with his high socks on, double stripe. Hit the like button if you have yet to do so. And he's stating clearly that the Navy and other security officials in Sinaloa are working for the Mayitos. And we know what we think. We think
Oye, y el Rocha.
El Rocha is working for the
Bueno, y
Chapitos.
el Rocha.
Either way, corruption can't escape it. My hope for humanity drops deeper and deeper into the pit of Hades. You could trust the government. But let's say they dropped them off at home. Unharmed, of course. Of course they did. Hey, I said what I had to say, huh? I gave them all the information. They told me they'd let me go. It's a sad game, boy. You get yourself involved a little bit. Ain't no getting out of it, not even a little bit. It's not nothing we don't know. Corruption, it runs deep. It's what's happening over there. It's what's happening everywhere. Now, we've been talking lately about the Izaguirre Ranch and the other ranches that have been found all over Jalisco that they are attributing to the CJNG and saying that these were training facilities, right? These were training facilities where these recruiters would go and snatch up youth from around town, offer them jobs, legitimacy, for the most part. Offer them this, that, the other. These guys go to to go see about these jobs, and what it really is a training camp and a testing ground to see if they have what it takes to be a disposable soldier for the Cartel. Those that are not, that I'm sure have told the trainers that they're not, that's not me, it's not my life. Those were reportedly done away with, okay, terminated. We were also under the impression that one, if not more, of these training facilities contain crematoriums, places where they got rid of these paper soldier recruits that weren't making the cut. We saw one story that was like that, which was the Izaguirre Ranch, and then we heard plenty of other ones. Well, now I don't know who's saying it, but the headline so far is, again, I'll take it with a grain of salt, no evidence of crematoriums at Izaguirre Ranch, FGR. Gertz Manero reminded that after the FGR's raid, there is substantial progress in the investigations of the property indicated as a training camp. The Izaguirre Ranch, located in Tuchiclan, Jalisco, was used as a recruitment operations and training center for the Jalisco New Generation Cartel. According to statements from those arrested, reported Attorney General Alejandro Gertz Manero. At the morning press conference at the National Palace, the head of the Attorney General's office, FGR, stated that no evidence of crematoriums was found on the property. We ordered a soil test on the stone and construction materials throughout the property to determine if there had been enough evidence for cremation, but we didn't find any. For us, that's not enough. We have asked the laboratories of the National University, Autonomous University of Mexico, to confirm or rectify this information, and that's what I'm going to share with you, he explained. In front of President Claudia Sheinbaum, the prosecutor emphasized that to date, 15 people have been arrested linked to the property, located in the state of Jalisco. First, we have 15 people detained who are already charged with other crimes linked to organized crime. The head of that unit was arrested by the security cabinet here in Mexico City, and based on that information and information from 2 people, we were able to establish with complete precision that it was a recruitment, operations, and training center. From the Treasury room, Gertz Manero emphasized that in 15 days since the federal public prosecutor's office took possession of the ranch, there has been substantial progress in the investigation. If you say so. It sounds like you taking shit off the table. It sounds like we heard about crematoriums, and now you're like, nothing to see here. Hit the like button if you have yet to do so. His nose is growing like Pinocchio. I don't doubt it. But we'll see. He wants more investigation, right? We'll see. Where did that word come? Where did that crematorium word come? It could have easily come from the people that found the location to begin with, or the people that found the location and claimed to see that, maybe they said that to make noise. That was the families, or these coalitions and these factions of families that are looking for their lost loved ones, right? So they could have easily said, you know what, man, we ain't found them, so fuck it. Say there was a crematorium. Let's make some noise. They made some noise. We've been covering it on a regular basis. Or they really found evidence of a crematorium. Right? And the government wants to fucking keep that shit under wraps for the time being. Whatever it is, we'll keep an eye on it. The government's saying, nothing to see here, guys. Nothing to see here.